Caitlin Clark's decision to leave college and enter the WNBA draft sent shockwaves throughout the basketball world, shaking up both fans and professionals who had closely followed her explosive college career. Clark wasn't just another player making the jump to the pros. She was the spark, the electricity in the arena that could turn an entire game on its head with a single three-pointer from what seemed like another zip code. Her presence was seismic, and with her announcement, it felt like the ground itself was shifting beneath the feet of the basketball landscape. The WNBA knew they had to make moves, and fast. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The changes the WNBA decided to roll out following Clark's announcement were nothing short of drastic. It was as if the league had been waiting for a player like her to come along. A catalyst who could not only dominate the court but also elevate the entire league's status in the sports world. Her arrival seemed to give the WNBA a new pulse, a jolt of energy that demanded a response, and they delivered in a way that no one quite expected. To start, the league announced a restructuring of the entire playoff format. Previously, the system was already intense, but with Clark stepping into the picture, they wanted to ensure more opportunities for moments of magic. They expanded the playoffs to include more teams and introduced a best-of-5 series in the earlier rounds, replacing the old single elimination games. This change wasn't just about adding games, it was about creating a stage big enough to hold the kind of performances that Clark seemed born to give. The WNBA didn't just want her to be a part of the show, they wanted to build the show around her. Beyond the playoff format, the WNBA also made a controversial decision to adjust the rules regarding defensive play. Clark's scoring ability had already become legendary, even before she set foot on a WNBA court. So to bid to let her, and players like her, thrive even more, they tweaked the rules to discourage overly physical defense on perimeter shooters. This shift was a clear signal to the rest of the league. The era of lights-out shooters was here, and they were going to make it rain from beyond the arc without a hand in their faces often. Another significant change was in how the league approached its media and marketing. Clark wasn't just a player. She was a brand, a personality that drew people in with her confidence and swagger. The WNBA had always had talented players, but Clark's charisma added a new layer. She was a player who didn't just play the game, she performed it. To capitalize on that, the league signed deals with major streaming platforms, ensuring that her games would be accessible worldwide, with live commentary that matched her energy. They were aiming for a global audience that wouldn't just watch the games. They'd be talking about them on social media, sharing clips of her no-look passes and buzzer beaters. In the midst of all these changes, the WNBA also announced that they were increasing the salary cap significantly. It was a move that many saw as overdue, but also perfectly timed with Clark's arrival. The message was clear. They wanted to attract more talent, but more importantly, they wanted to keep players like Clark happy and motivated to stay in the league, rather than seeking opportunities elsewhere. Suddenly, the WNBA wasn't just a stepping stone or a secondary option. It was the place to be. But perhaps the most surprising adjustment was the way the league embraced a more fast-paced style of play, one that suited Clark's up-tempo game. They implemented rules that sped up the game's pace, reducing shot clock reset times and encouraging quicker transitions from defense to offense. For a player like Clark, who thrived in chaos and seemed to relish the high-speed exchanges, this was like opening up the throttle on a race car. The court had always been her playground, and now the league was practically handing her the keys to the whole amusement park. The impact of these changes wasn't just about making the WNBA more exciting, it was about redefining what it meant to be a superstar in the league. Clark's influence was already changing how teams approached scouting and drafting new players. It wasn't just about finding the next big post player or defensive anchor anymore. Teams were looking for shooters, creators, players who could handle the ball and make plays from anywhere on the court. Clark had set a new blueprint for what it meant to be dominant, and the league was following her lead. What's more, the buzz around these changes led to a surge in viewership and fan engagement even before Clark had played a single professional game. Social media lit up with anticipation, and the conversation around the WNBA was suddenly louder, more vibrant, and more mainstream. Everyone wanted to see how the league would evolve with this new wave of talent, spearheaded by a player who had already captured the imagination of basketball fans everywhere. The narrative had shifted, and now it wasn't just about the competition, it was about the spectacle. Even the most seasoned players in the WNBA couldn't help but take notice. Some were excited at the prospect of going up against a player of Clark's caliber, seeing her as the ultimate challenge that would push their own game to new heights. Others were more skeptical, cautious of how the league's focus on Clark might shift the dynamics they were used to. It was like a new kid moving into the neighborhood, and everyone was trying to figure out how they fit into this reshaped world. Behind the scenes, coaches were already drawing up plays and strategies designed to counteract Clark's skills. It was as if they were preparing for a storm, one that could potentially wreak havoc on their game plans. They knew that no lead was safe when Clark was on the floor, that she had the kind of presence that could swing the momentum in the blink of an eye. The game wasn't just about playing well anymore. It was about playing smart, anticipating her next move before she even made it. One of the more subtle yet profound changes came in the way the WNBA marketed itself to younger audiences. Clark had an undeniable connection with younger fans, partly because of her age and partly because of the way she played the game, fearless, passionate, and with a hint of swagger that resonated with a generation that grew up on highlights and viral moments. The league leaned into that by crafting campaigns that felt more authentic, more in tune with the culture of today's youth. It wasn't just about selling tickets anymore. It was about building a community, a tribe of fans who felt like they were part of something bigger. The WNBA's decision to focus more on grassroots engagement also came as a strategic move tied to Clark's rise. They launched new initiatives to connect with high school and college players, creating programs that were not just about skill development, but also about fostering the love of the game. They wanted to create a pipeline of talent that looked up to players like Clark, not just as athletes but as role models who had redefined what was possible on the court. The league's message was clear: if you're a young baller with dreams, the WNBA is where you want to be. Another dimension to these changes was the league's expansion into international markets. With Clark's name already recognizable to basketball fans globally, the WNBA took this as an opportunity to push further into territories where the sport was growing rapidly. They announced plans for more exhibition games overseas and even hinted at potential partnerships with foreign leagues to create a more global ecosystem for women's basketball. It was no longer just about conquering the national scene. It was about making waves on a worldwide scale. The shift in broadcasting also played a crucial role in these developments. The WNBA secured primetime slots on major networks, something that had been a challenge in the past. They didn't just want to be visible. They wanted to be unavoidable, the kind of event you couldn't ignore, even if you tried. The league was banking on Clark's star power to draw in not just existing fans, but also casual viewers who might tune in just to see what all the hype was about. At its core, these changes reflected the WNBA's acknowledgement that they were on the cusp of something transformative. They recognized that with players like Caitlin Clark entering the league, they had a chance to shift perceptions, to grow the game in ways they hadn't before. It wasn't just about riding the wave of her popularity. It was about building an entire movement around the energy she brought with her. Clark's arrival was more than just a player transition. It was a signal of a new era in the WNBA, one that promised to blend the intensity of competition with the flair of entertainment. The league's moves show that they weren't just reacting to her presence. They were preparing for a future that she was already shaping. The changes weren't without controversy or criticism, but they were bold, unafraid to take risks in the pursuit of something greater. With the seismic impact Caitlin Clark's announcement had on the WNBA, the league's strategic transformation went even deeper, setting off a chain reaction of adaptations that transcended the on-court game and spilled into how the organization operated on every level. The changes weren't merely cosmetic. They were fundamental. It was as though the WNBA had been waiting for a player of Clark's magnitude to justify a complete overhaul, a reason to accelerate its own evolution. The moment Clark made it clear that she was coming to the league, the WNBA shifted gears in their approach to player development. They expanded training facilities and invested heavily in advanced sports science. This wasn't just about physical conditioning. It was about turning every player's game into a well-oiled machine, pushing them to their maximum potential. The focus moved to analytics-driven training regimens tailored to increase shooting accuracy, enhance endurance, and reduce injuries. Players were now subjected to biometric screenings and cognitive training drills that honed their decision-making speed under pressure. It was the kind of rigorous development previously reserved for the NBA, and Clark's entrance was the catalyst that pushed the WNBA to raise the bar. Clark's influence also sparked a new focus on the scouting and recruitment processes. The league began prioritizing a different kind of player profile in their search. They weren't just looking for the best athletes anymore. They were hunting for sharpshooters, playmakers, and versatile guards who could shift the tempo at will, much like Clark herself. Draft strategies became more aggressive, with teams trading up for top picks to secure players who could emulate her style. They weren't looking to find another Caitlin Clark. They were aiming to build teams that could counter or complement her on the floor, recognizing that her style of play was about to become the standard rather than the exception. The ripple effects extended into college basketball, where coaches began to adapt their programs to develop more players in the mold of Clark. High school athletes, noticing the shift, adjusted their own playing styles to catch the eyes of scouts. The pipeline leading from youth basketball through college and into the WNBA was transforming in real time, influenced by one player's groundbreaking approach to the game. In gyms across the country, you could see young players mimicking Clark's signature step-back three-pointer or practicing those no-look passes that made highlight reels. In response to these developments, the WNBA also expanded its engagement with grassroots basketball. They launched new initiatives aimed at mentoring young female athletes, offering clinics led by current WNBA stars and coaches, with a focus on the kind of skill sets that had made Clark so effective. The goal was clear. They wanted to cultivate a generation of players who didn't just have the athleticism, but also the basketball IQ and creativity that defined Clark's game. It was about creating a farm system that would ensure a steady stream of talent, capable of sustaining the league's new competitive dynamics. Moreover, the league introduced a comprehensive overhaul of its talent acquisition policies. They introduced an early entry clause for top college prospects, allowing them to declare for the WNBA draft earlier than before, in response to the growing trend of younger players reaching elite skill levels faster. It was a way to capitalize on the momentum of high-profile college stars like Clark, without forcing them to play out lengthy college careers before going pro. This change was designed to keep the brightest stars from slipping through the cracks or getting lost in the shuffle of delayed entry. One area where the WNBA truly doubled down was in its branding and storytelling efforts. Clark's appeal was not just in her game, but in her personality, her confidence, her swagger, and her unapologetic style. The league understood that today's fans connect with narratives and personalities just as much as they do with the sport itself. To tap into this, the WNBA launched a series of digital content platforms, including a documentary-style series that followed Clark's journey from college to her rookie season. They highlighted her rivalries, her training routines, and her off-court life, building a mythology around her that could hook even the most casual fans. The league also tapped into the world of social media influencers and content creators, collaborating with them to produce bite-sized videos that were easily shareable. The aim was to make Caitlin Clark's highlights go viral, to ensure that her buzzer beaters and jaw-dropping plays were seen not just by die-hard basketball fans, but by anyone with a smartphone. The WNBA wanted to make her moments ubiquitous, turning her into a household name beyond the confines of sports. Merchandising was another area that saw radical transformation. Clark's popularity triggered a demand for more personalized and stylish gear. The league rolled out a fresh line of merchandise that included custom jerseys, limited edition sneakers, and apparel that played on her iconic quotes and mannerisms. It was more than just sportswear, it was streetwear, designed to appeal to a younger audience who saw Clark as not just an athlete but a cultural figure. Sales surged as fans, especially those from Gen Z, snapped up anything that bore her name or likeness. Beyond the immediate fanfare, there was a significant emphasis on reshaping how corporate sponsorships and partnerships were handled. Clark's presence attracted new brands that previously hadn't considered investing in women's basketball. Tech companies, fashion labels, and global corporations that catered to younger demographics began signing deals with the WNBA, eager to align their products with a player who symbolized energy, youth, and a touch of defiance. This influx of sponsorship dollars meant more resources for player development, marketing, and expanding the league's reach. In an unexpected move, the WNBA also took a page out of the NBA's playbook by introducing a mid-season tournament. This competition, designed to break up the regular season's grind, was crafted to be fast-paced, high-stakes, and catered to showcase the league's biggest stars, Caitlin Clark front and center. The tournament format included cash prizes and charitable donations for the winning teams, giving players added motivation and creating a spectacle that would keep fans glued to their screens during what was traditionally a slower part of the season. The WNBA also worked to revolutionize the in-arena experience. They upgraded their venues with advanced lighting, interactive digital displays, and sound systems that would create an atmosphere akin to the energy of a live concert. They wanted to turn every game into an event, where fans weren't just spectators but participants in an immersive show. Each time Clark drained a three-pointer or dished out an impossible assist, the crowd reaction would be amplified by light shows and live music, creating a sense of connection between the court and the stands. There was also a significant focus on enhancing the fan experience through technology. The WNBA app received a major upgrade, integrating augmented reality (AR) features that allowed fans to interact with live game stats, view exclusive player content, and even engage in virtual one-on-one sessions with their favorite stars. They created augmented reality filters for fans to use during games, so you could, for instance, see yourself draining a three-pointer like Caitlin Clark or dishing out assists in a virtual version of her style. This digital push wasn't just about keeping pace with technology. It was about creating a deeper, more personal connection between the players and their audience. On the business side, the WNBA began implementing a revenue-sharing model that included players in the financial growth of the league. Clark's influence on the league's increased viewership and merchandise sales made it clear that the athletes deserved a bigger slice of the pie. This move aimed to not only reward the players financially, but also to incentivize them to take a more active role in promoting the league. It created a scenario where the players were invested in the success of the WNBA as much as the owners were, aligning their interests in a way that was rare in professional sports. In terms of global outreach, the league announced plans to host games in international markets, particularly in Europe and Asia, where basketball has a massive following. Caitlin Clark's name recognition overseas had already sparked interest, and the WNBA aimed to capitalize on that by bringing live games to new audiences. These global exhibitions weren't just about expanding the fan base. They were also scouting missions to find and attract international talent that could elevate the league's level of play even further. These international moves also sparked a push towards a more diverse and inclusive WNBA community. The league introduced initiatives aimed at supporting athletes from different cultural backgrounds, ensuring they had the resources and opportunities to succeed in the league. This cultural expansion was seen as a necessary evolution, driven by Clark's appeal as a universal basketball icon who could inspire talent from all corners of the globe. The league even ventured into gaming and esports, tapping into the growing market of virtual sports and online competition. They announced the creation of a WNBA-branded esports league that would feature players modeled after their real-life counterparts, including Clark, who was positioned as the face of this new digital frontier. It wasn't just about expanding their reach. It was about embedding the WNBA into the cultural fabric of a new generation that was just as likely to pick up a controller as they were to pick up a basketball. A ripple effect of Clark's influence also touched the broadcast landscape. The WNBA forged partnerships with international sports networks to stream games in real time, making sure that the magic of her on-court moments was accessible to fans in different time zones. These new deals included game commentary in multiple languages, broadening the league's reach and connecting with fans who had previously been overlooked. Moreover, the league's leadership saw a shift, with an influx of young executives who brought fresh perspectives and innovative ideas to the table. They were tasked with one goal: to disrupt traditional thinking and take the WNBA to heights never before imagined. These leaders didn't just want to follow in the footsteps of the NBA. They wanted to carve out their own path, one that was unique and reflective of the league's distinct identity. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.